welcome to Cycling Essays, where I draw in the background and I ramble a lot. It's a pretty easy concept to grasp, really. So for this one, major spoilers ahead for the Dream Smp. Your trigger warnings are references to suicide, murder, and mental illness. If you think that you can't watch or listen to this, please don't. I care about you. Go drink some water, cuddle up with a blanket or something, and you're in no way obligated to listen to this. If you think that you can't handle it, please take a break and go take care of yourself. Mental health. So, this one's about Ghostbur. I've put together a small collective of points that I noticed while watching streams and just doing an overall character analysis. It's just something I like to do in my spare time. Psychology is a hobby of mine. So, first things first that I haven't seen many people talking about is of the day of the prison break. He was technically manipulated into Tommy's plan. He did not know the full extension of what was planned. He thought that they were just going to take one of Dream's lives, that he wouldn't die and not fully kill him and take his last canon life. He did not know the full consequences of what would happen either. That's pretty obvious. At the end he panics and gets hysterical, which is pretty obvious for him, and pretty understandable. This is shown a lot how Wilbur manipulated Tommy in the Manberg art. Obviously it's not in the same way, it's not for the same reasons, and it's definitely not to the same extent. But Tommy has learned that Ghostbur is easy to lie to, he kind of idolizes everyone, etc. This is like a symptom of lots of mental illnesses, and I think it's kind of a little bit of a secret statement on how people with, or neurodivergent people in general, how they are often manipulated, and that's just never really talked about, I think. So that's just something I wanted to bring up. So Ghostbur is pretty much not free of mental illness. In any case, he is probably neurodivergent. He was pretty much suicidal from Doomsday onwards. He asked Phil to revive him, and I think that's overlooked a lot. That was him basically asking Phil to kill him. He's probably thought, oh, Phil killed Wilbur, why can't I use him to kill me? In any case, when Blue, let's face it, Blue is probably an analogy for illicit substances, shall we say. It makes him happy and turns all his sorrows away. That sounds a bit sketchy to me, always has. When Blue wasn't enough, he looked for another way out, and that's something a lot of depressed people turn to, or just neurodivergent people in general. Addictive substances, and sometimes even removing himself from this earth if it's still too much. And another reason for why I think Ghostbur is pretty mentally ill is that he seems to struggle with self-worth, especially in his early days. He said a couple of times that Wilbur would make it better, and it leads me to believe that in his early days, when he was still just, figuring everything out, he thought of himself as a shallow replacement and that Wilbur was better than him, which, let's obviously no, that's just not it. But Ghostbur does get over this, and it's both by either forgetting or pretending that it didn't happen. This isn't a healthy coping mechanism. Pretending that everything is okay, that is. Forgetting things is a symptom of many conditions, my focal point here being PTSD, as I know the most about it. And while it isn't healthy, mind you, it's not something that he can help. Selective amnesia happens to a lot of people with PTSD. And it's also a symptom of other neurological conditions. In any case, Ghostbur does forget. He stops being suicidal. He finds his own person and his own reasons to live. He wants to live as Ghostbur, not the ghost of Wilbur Soot. Then Dream threatens to take that away by reviving him, and he becomes pretty hysterical because, and I quote, he doesn't want to die. This is him acknowledging himself as someone that is separate. To revive Wilbur is to kill Ghostbur. We now know that somewhere along the lines, Ghostbur started identifying as a separate entity, and he has come to terms with this now. And another part of Ghostbur's personality is that he sometimes lies to himself to make things more positive, and that's something that a lot of neurodivergent people do. Only focusing on the positive things is something that I personally do a lot, because some people just can't handle the feeling that everything is ganging up on you, or that you can't outrun your past, or that everything's just trying to drag you down. And obviously the whole world isn't against you, but it feels like that a lot. So Ghostbur keeps a very positive outlook on life. He tries to believe the best of everyone. He cannot understand why Tommy lied to him. He panics because he thought people would help him, and he called out for help while Dream was threatening to revive him, and that was kind of his downfall. Because Dream knows how to manipulate people, and I will have something up on him soon because I think he's a very interesting character, that just made Ghostbur very vulnerable. And honestly, Ghostbur's panic is very justified, well, obviously, but just let me explain. He had just found a new lease on life, and it's pretty recent, and he was thinking that other people knew him as Ghostbur, friendly ghost man. But if you think about it, Sam tripped up a couple of times on the stream and called him Wilbur a couple of times, and Ghostbur was required to correct him. And it makes you really think, even before Tommy grew impatient and pulled out the axe, do you think Ghostbur would have had a bad feeling about it? Would doubt be settling in that people knew him as his own identity? Or would he be thinking to himself that everything was fine? We can never really know because, well, there aren't that many streams as Ghostbur. So when Dream threatens to revive Ghostbur, he knows or thinks that deep down he'd be forgotten almost instantly in place of Wilbur because of how his mind works. He forgets the bad things. So and remembers the good things. So he sees Wilbur as like something that's vastly more important than him, and that people would forget him very quickly, instead focusing on the more important thing. All that work, all that self-identity, all that work towards making himself a new life as Ghostbur, it's all being reduced to being seen as the shell of an insane, and I use insane as a descriptor. Wilbur was not actually insane, he was more mentally ill than anything, and I will make the statement on this soon. Ghostbur would think that he'd be reduced to the shell of an insane man. So he screams and cries for help, but no one comes, and obviously Tommy is trying his best to make sure that no one else ends up in the same situation that he did, but you gotta think, if Tommy was saying that, do you think Ghostbur was thinking that he did that for him, or if he did that for himself? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Overall, my final thoughts are that Ghostbur is wonderfully neurodivergent coded, and I really think Wilbur did a very good job of playing him, and it wasn't even to the point of a character. Sarkaline can't pronounce character. No, I can't pronounce that, but I think that Wilbur did a very good job in portraying it. And while people will think that it's a little exaggerated and over the top, I don't think it is, because severely mentally ill people sometimes do act like I can't pronounce that word. Severely mentally ill people do act like weird portrayals of things, and like that's something that a lot of people don't realize, and they're just happy to say, oh, this is inaccurate or anything, but as a person with PTSD, I think that, while a little bit exaggerated, I will admit that, Ghostbur is a very interesting portrayal, and I think he's a very meta character. That's all I really have to say on the matter. Thank you for listening. If you have like any questions or any or if you even just want to chat, you can chat to me on my Tumblr, linked below in the description. I would also appreciate a like and subscribe. I'm trying to do things, you know, and that's all really. Stay safe, have a lovely day, and always remember to take care of yourself. If you ain't got that drink of water yet, I swear to God, please go get them. That's all for now. Bye bye.